What's up, guys? Neil Orfield here, taking a look at the Stokastic NFL lineup generator for Sunday's main slate. I'm going to be looking at lineups for both DraftKings and FanDuel here. While you're coming in, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. As I said, I'm going to be looking at DraftKings and FanDuel here. I'm going to start by looking at the DraftKings main slate, followed by the FanDuel main slate. Of course, if you have not yet signed up for the lineup generator, highly recommend checking it out. This is our cheapest offering at Stokastic, just $14.95 per week for the lineup generator. It's only going to give you lineups that are long-term profitable. They've all run through thousands and thousands of sims on the Stokastic channel. And only the lineups that are plus EV long-term are still here in the lineup generator. Any long-term negative EV lineups thrown out. You're not going to get those in the lineup generator. Here, you're only getting plus EV lineups that are going to be profitable long-term. And again, $14.95 per week. That's going to include both sites. It's going to include main slates, showdown slates, every different type of slate. So check it out if you haven't already done so. We're going to start by looking at some DraftKings main slate lineups. Now, I like to let the lineup generator do its thing on main slates, so I'm not going to specify a certain stack type, but you can choose if you want to do just one-man stacks with the run back from the opposing team, two-man stacks with a run back from the opposing team. Whichever stack type you want to choose, you have that option here in the lineup generator. For me, though, again, I'm going to let the lineup generator do its thing. And as far as types of lineups, you can choose. You just want to do chalky lineups, balanced lineups. If you're playing the Millie Maker, you might just want to use contrarian lineups. Whatever type of lineup you want to play, you have the option here. Again, though, for me, I'm going to let the lineup generator do its thing. So I'm choosing all lineups. First lineup we have here, I like to see it. I'm intrigued by the Cardinals stack here this week, and we get that in our first lineup here. Josh Dobbs with Marquise Brown. Pretty cheap stack here, 5,200 Dobbs, 5,300 Brown. Looks really good. And then we have Puka Nacua on the comeback here. So here we just have a single stack with a bring back. We've got Josh Jacobs in there. Chuba Hubbard filling in for Miles Sanders, going to look really good here at 4,300 as the starting running back for Carolina. We got Mike Evans in there, Jordan Addison as well, stepping up with Justin Jefferson out. And then we have Evan Ingram at 14% ownership. Texans defense in there as well. So it looks like a really good lineup to me. This one just 109% total ownership, projects for 131.5 fantasy points. That looks really good. It's on the chalky end of the spectrum, but not all the way to the chalky side. Sometimes we get lineups all the way here at the peak in terms of chalkiness. That is not this lineup, and we're also projecting really well. I like this lineup quite a bit. I don't have any issues with this lineup. Looks like one that I would be interested in playing. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Second lineup, we have the same game, same type of stack. We got Stafford with Tyler Higbee. We also have Kyron Williams there as sort of a secondary stack with the running back, and then Marquise Brown on the comeback. So we're sticking to that same game. We've got Mostert in this one against that Carolina defense. We have both Mostert and Tyreek Hill. We've got Rashid Shaheed, pretty inexpensive and low ownership, 3% projected ownership. Damian Pierce in there for the Texans, and then the Dolphins defense. So we have three Dolphins in this lineup, Mostert, Hill, and the Dolphins defense against that Carolina team. Looks like a nice lineup. Once again, we have, that same primary stack of from that Rams-Cardinals game. And this one is all the way on the chalky end of the spectrum. Projects pretty similarly. Projects a little bit better than the last one, but a little bit chalkier as well. But still, we have some low-owned pieces here with 3% owned Shaheed, 5% owned Tyler Higbee, even 7% owned Damian Pierce. So it's a little bit chalkier overall than the last lineup, but we do have some really low-owned pieces. Looks like a nice lineup as well. All right, let's. This one's kind of interesting. So we're going back to the same game stack. I was going to say let's go until we find one that's not that game stack, but this one I kind of like because it is a double stack with Josh Dobbs, Marquise Brown, and Rondale Moore in there. I have a lot of interest in Rondale Moore this weekend. Tyler Higbee on the bringback. So I think we have bringbacks on all three of our lineups so far. We've got David Montgomery in there for the Lions, Bijan Robinson for the Falcons, Jamar Chase makes the lineup. And then we, of course, got Mostert again against that Carolina defense and the Lions defense in there. So we got the nice little secondary pairing of Lions defense with David Montgomery. We got the full-on game stack of Cardinals and Rams. Looks good. All right, let's Let's see if we can find one that does not. Okay, so here's our first lineup that does not contain that game stack. And this is actually another really interesting lineup because we have Derek Carr in here with essentially a three-man stack here. We've got Michael Thomas, Rashid Shaheed, and we also have Alvin Kamara in there, who Carr has targeted pretty heavily. So pretty interesting to see the full-on Saints stack in this one. We've also got Travis Etienne, Jamar Chase, Dalton Schultz at tight end, Mostert once again, and then that Eagles defense against Zach Wilson and the Jets. This one's pretty interesting. It is on the chalky end of the spectrum, but again, projects similarly to the other lineups and not as extremely high ownership on the lineup. And again, we have the low-owned Shaheed, relatively low-owned Dalton Schultz in there, low-owned Carr, so some really low-owned pieces to the lineup. Now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to save the rest of the lineups it gives me, and then at the end we'll see what exposures we have to different players once I've saved all the lineups I can. We're getting some contrarian lineups in here as well, so that's good to see. We're getting a mix. Our highest exposed player, Josh Jacobs, 42%. Chuba Hubbard, no surprise there, 38%. Raheem Mostert, no surprise there, 38%. A lot of the best plays on the slate, guys that are just projecting really well point per dollar. We're getting to a lot of them. That makes sense. We've also got Joe Mixon, Matthew Stafford, Jamar Chase, Zach Ertz. A lot of this Cardinals-Rams game, you see as you scroll, just it's all parts of the game are being represented in our lineups here. Again, nice little thing that's been happening for us lately. This tool is supposed to only allow you to make 20 lineups, but for the past, I don't know, month or two, it's been allowing you to make 40, and we're just letting it happen, getting some bonus lineups here in the tool right now, which is pretty awesome to be able to make 40 at once. So this is our exposure after 40 lineups, not the usual 20. All right, let's take a look at FanDuel as well. So I'm going to go FanDuel main, all stack types, all lineup types. First lineup we have here, once again, going back to that Ram stack with Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Tyler Higbee in this one. For the running backs, we got Kamara, Raheem Mostert. We got Chris Godwin making it into the lineup. Has not had a great year so far, but at some point you would expect Godwin probably going to have some good games. I would think at some point. DK Metcalf in there at just 4% ownership. That's pretty interesting. And then if I didn't say it already, we got Rondale Moore on the comeback from the Cardinals at just 3.5% ownership. Once again, looking good. Eagles defense again against Zach Wilson and the Jets. Looks like a good lineup. This one not particularly chalky, but projects really well as you would expect. Looks like a nice lineup. All right, let's take a look at what the next one looks like. And here's a completely different one. So now we have Tua with Jalen Waddle is the stack. We don't have any. Oh, no, we do have. We have Jonathan Mingo on the comeback. That's pretty interesting. 4,900 Jonathan Mingo. That's pretty cheap on FanDuel. Sub 3% ownership as well. So we are game stacking here once again with the Dolphins and then Mingo on the bring back. We've got Kamara in this one, Breece Hall, Cooper Kupp is the pay up, Jalen Waddle once again, Evan Ingram at tight end, and then Rashad White in the flex with the 49ers defense. Interesting. Very, very different than a lot of the other lineups we've seen. Pretty chalky, but we do once again have some of those low owned pieces. Jonathan Mingo there at 3%, and that's the beauty of the lineup generator. Your lineups are going to be balanced for you. If they're too chalky, they're going to get thrown out. If they're too contrarian, they're probably going to get thrown out as well. These are nice balanced lineups that have low pieces mixed in there, and still, you can use a lot of the chalk is being used. We've still got Kupp in there. We've still got Alvin Kamara at 17%. Using some chalkier, but we're balancing the lineups with some contrarian pieces. So that's kind of the beauty of the lineup generator, using sims to make lineups. All right, let's take a look at our next lineup, or sims to choose lineups, I should say. Stafford is the quarterback in this one with Tutu Atwell. This one we do not have a bring back. So this is our first one using a stack from that Rams Cardinals game that does not have a bring back from the other side. We've got McCaffrey, big time pay up option, 10,300 here. He's just 7% projected ownership, though. Mostert looking good. Pittman looking good for now. Hopefully, they don't trade for Jerry Jeudy. Although I guess that wouldn't affect this week anyway. We got 17% owned. Pittman looks good. We got Mark Gardner Minshew throwing him the ball this week. Christian Kirk in there, 14% ownership. With no Zay Jones, he's going to look pretty good. Cade Otton in there, 2% ownership. Joe Mixon, 26% ownership. So another chalky piece offsetting the contrarian pieces. And then the Bucs defense in this one. Looks like another nice lineup. All right, I'm going to go through now, and I'm just going to save, see what our lineups look like, what our exposures look like on the final screen. All right, so we got to a ton of Joe Mixon, 45% Joe Mixon across our 40 lineups on FanDuel. Got just 5.5K Chuba Hubbard. He's way too cheap for being the primary back there for the Panthers. 38% projected ownership, or sorry, 38% exposure here. Josh Jacobs, we got 35%. Cooper Kupp, 30%. Getting to our Rams here. Kupp, Stafford, Puka Nacua, all making it into a fair number of lineups. We got Jalen Waddle in there. Some Jags here with Christian Kirk, ETN, Evan Ingram, all being fairly high exposure. Throw Tyler Higbee in there as well for the Rams. Pretty interesting looking at these exposures. We are pretty spread out though. So 40 lineups, we're using plenty of players across those 40 lineups. A lot of different ways to make plus EV lineups, and good to see that we can have a mix here just using the lineup generator, get a mix of different types of lineups that are all going to be plus EV. All right, that is going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already hit that like button, I really do appreciate it. It does help us out quite a bit, and good luck this weekend.